In 2010, it's a big, complicated subject. We've got a lot of discussions going on, and we're still optimistic we're going to get there.
McConnell says progress was made at that meeting as the president continued to press the urgency of the matter.
We have really no choice but to solve this situation. Obamacare is a total disaster. It's melting down as we speak. Rates are going up.
Still no help from Democrats who uniformly oppose the bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer calling it rotten.
The Republican bill is rotten at the core. The American people are not for big tax breaks to the wealthiest of Americans, nor are they for dramatically cutting their health care.
Lawmakers leave town Friday for the recess as the GOP leaders hope that time off will change some minds. McConnell needs to sway at least 7 of those 9 holdouts before he can bring a vote that would consider passing.
All right, Griff. Well, the fun continues. I know we were sitting here talking about what you were talking about.
Yeah, why they don't come up with their own plan, the Democrats. So.
Yeah, we're not seeing it. All right, Griff, thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, Fox News contributor Charles Krauthammer, meantime, says that it's not the Republicans' fault that they can't come to an agreement. He says it all comes down to the failures of former President Obama.
This is not a affair of communication, as in Cool Hand Luke. This is a failure of expectations. The country does not want to see the entitlements that were handed out by Obamacare retracted. That's the issue. It's not communication. It's not the lack of coordination between the House and the Senate. It's the fact that Medicare was inflated. People are used to what was. They don't want to give it back. That's the reason that Obamacare repeal is in trouble. The country is not where it was 7 years ago. It's the reason that the left usually wins, because when you hand out goodies since the New Deal, it is extremely hard to bring them back. That's the core issue here.
Makes a lot of sense. Tempers flaring at the White House press briefing yesterday over fake news. Sarah Huckabee Sanders calling out CNN and other media outlets over false reporting.
There are multiple other instances where that outlet that you referenced has been repeatedly wrong. It's a disgrace to all of media, to all of journalism. If the media can't be trusted to report the news, then that's a dangerous place for America. And I think if that is the place that certain outlets are going, particularly for the purpose of spiking ratings, and if that's coming directly from the top, I think that's even more scary and certainly more disgraceful. And I hope that that's not the direction we're headed.
Well, some outlets, like Playboy, if you can believe it, not taking the criticism well. One of their reporters even blaming the Trump administration for provoking the media. All right, Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume slamming those reporters' complaints, saying that big news organizations should not rely on press briefings to get their questions answered, and no reporter, no good reporter, would ever rely on them.
Remember this, no reporter for a news organization as sizable and as important as CNN should be relying on the briefings to get news. A CNN correspondent can get his or her calls returned. New York Times reporter, Washington Post reporter, Fox News correspondent. We can get our calls returned at the White House. It's for the lots and lots of dozens of smaller news organizations that cover the White House on a daily basis, and the briefing is really kind of there for them. I don't think anything terribly draconian seems to be happening to press freedom in America because of the briefing policies at the White House.
President Trump set to make good on 2 more campaign promises, both focused on making America safe again. At Congress, helping our commander-in-chief answer the long-awaited calls for justice. Marianne Rafferty in Los Angeles with the details on the bills that are headed to the House floor.
Good morning. In just hours, Republican lawmakers are taking up a pair of bills that crack down on illegal immigration. One, dubbed Kate's Law, increases penalties for immigrants who try to re-enter the U.S. after being deported. The proposal, named after Kate Steinle, murdered by a repeat felon, deported 5 times. The 32-year-old shot to death in front of her dad on a San Francisco pier. Steinle's shooter, Francisco Sanchez, who snuck in several times from Mexico and was supposed to be turned over to federal immigration agents 4 months before Steinley's murder. Instead, he was accidentally set free. The case shocking the nation, becoming a campaign talking point for President Trump. And now GOP lawmakers vow the push for tougher law enforcement is on.
I am also going to ask Congress to pass Kate's Law, named for Kate Steinle, to ensure that criminal aliens convicted of illegal reentry receive strong, mandatory minimum sentences. Strong. And then we get them out.
People will be kept the most safe if those who commit crimes are sent out of the United States or put in jail.
The House also slated to vote on the No Sanctuary for Criminal Act, which withholds millions in federal funds from cities that protect illegal immigrants over its own people. Democrats, including House Minority Whip Congressman Steny Hoyer, argue sanctuary laws are necessary to build trust between police and the community. If the bills pass through the House, both will still need to go through the Senate before then heading to President Trump's desk. Back to you.
Thank you, Marianne. Well, the Trump administration, meantime, wasting no time getting that border wall built. The Department of Homeland Security plans to start considering prototypes for the wall this summer. At least 8 models will be reviewed for how best to secure thousands of border miles with Mexico. Some portions will be made of concrete, while others may use some more innovative designs you may have heard about, like solar panels. A brazen attack on a Supreme Court building overnight to tell you about a stolen police helicopter flying overhead and firing grenades in Venezuela. Well, the nation's president is calling it a terror attack. Government officials say that a rogue police officer was flying that chopper. Violent anti-government protests have been raging for months in the socialist country, leading to dozens of deaths.
President Trump turning up the pressure on China to help deal with North Korea. The White House acknowledging Beijing's failure to rein in the rogue nation and its missile program. Vice President Mike Pence calling on all allies to join in this effort.
All of us must continue to step forward to work in close cooperation with one another and all of our allies and partners in the region to ensure that we bring the appropriate amount of economic and diplomatic pressure until North Korea permanently abandons its nuclear and ballistic missile programs once and for all.
Well, this comes as the State Department issued a new report ranking China as the most complicit country for human trafficking.
Bernie Sanders breaking his silence, calling an FBI investigation of his wife pathetic.
When you go after your wife, people's wives, that is pretty pathetic. I think it's fairly pathetic that when, people are involved in public life, it's not only that they get attacked, but it's their wives and their families that get attacked.
Here's what's happening. The FBI reportedly looking into whether Jane Sanders falsified some loan documents while she served as the president of a small Vermont liberal arts school that ultimately went bankrupt last year.
All right, death threats against Republicans put a man behind bars. Police say Steve St. Felix, looking very happy here in this mugshot, threatened to kill a Florida lawmaker on Facebook, writing, "I'll kill your expletive. You better not show up to the meeting, to the next REC meeting." Investigators say he meant no harm and was off his medication. This just weeks after the shooting attack on GOP lawmakers at baseball practice that left Majority Whip Steve Scalise, I should say, critically hurt. All right, a teenager who planned to slaughter 1,000 Americans will spend the rest of his life in prison. The North Carolina judge calling Justin Sullivan's deadly plot cold and calculated. The ISIS fanatic hoped to buy an AR-15 rifle to pull off a massacre at a concert, but his father ended up tipping off police. After his son's sentencing, Rich Sullivan, the dad, a former Marine, spoke out saying, "As parents, we are not happy, but as Americans, I accept it." Sullivan also accused of murdering his neighbor and stealing money to fund his terror plot. He faces the death penalty if convicted in that case.
Well, the trial for the 25-year-old government contractor accused of leaking top-secret NSA documents is set for October. The Reality Winner, that's what she's called, is accused of leaking a report about Russian interference in the presidential election to an online news outlet. Now, she was denied bail earlier this month after prosecutors say that they found handwritten notes about plans to join the Taliban and burn down the White House. Winner has pleaded not guilty.
All right, here in New York City, commuter chaos expected today after an NYC subway train derailed, injuring dozens of people. That crash forcing hundreds of passengers to flee in the dark tunnels of the subway underground that were filled with smoke.
We gotta go this way. That's where the smoke is coming from.
Dangerous stuff, too, because that third electrified rail can kill you pretty quick as well. Officials blaming this on human error, saying that a misplaced piece of rail caused two cars packed with people to jump the tracks. Some debris catching fire in the tunnel, forcing people to break train windows to escape and then go through the smoky tunnel in the dark to get out. At least 34 people were hurt. What a mess that was, and what a mess it made for commuters.
Can you imagine walking through those tunnels in the pitch black darkness trying to get out?
And especially with that electrified rail I was talking about. I mean, if you touch that, you're dead.
That's scary.
So that is scary.
Yeah.
All right, Janice here with a check of the forecast on a beautiful day.
Good morning. Good news, right?
Yeah,
Look
right.
at this. We're going to have a beautiful day here in the Northeast. Enjoy these refreshing temperatures because the hot, sticky stuff is arriving this weekend. Taking a look at it, 64 Minneapolis, 62 in Kansas, New York City, Dallas clocking in at 72 as well. Your past 6 hours, we do have the potential for severe storms today across the upper Midwest, including large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes. And that's going to be ongoing not only today, but also tomorrow. So taking a look at that slight enhanced risk for strong to severe thunderstorms tonight and through tomorrow. There's your tornado threat. And there's Thursday's threat. The rest of the country looks pretty good. We are also watching the threat for wildfires, close to 24 large wildfires burning across the West. So that's going to be a concern as well. Back to you, Rob and Heather.
Hot and sticky by the weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks anyway. That's
It's
okay.
the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah,
we need some hot and sticky stuff.
That's right. Yes, thanks so much.
You got it.
All right, 12 minutes after the hour now, fake news crackdown. Anthony Scaramucci just responded to CNN's hit job piece on him, and you might never guess just how much that report could have cost the cable network.
And an illegal immigrant deported 15 times, accused of getting drunk and driving into a 6-year-old boy and his family. He says it wasn't him. Welcome back. CNN's retracted report on alleged Russian collusion involving a Trump ally nearly cost the network $100 million. According to the New York Post, financier Anthony Scaramucci threatened a libel lawsuit over the report that had claimed that he was being investigated for meeting with Russian investors. Well, Scaramucci breaking his silence about the network's retraction, tweeting this: CNN did the right thing, classy move, apology accepted, everyone makes mistakes, moving on. But then later, tweeting this meme of President Trump and Vice President Pence as Batman and Robin, saying, sorry, he can't talk right now. He's busy winning. But so is Scaramucci. He has just been named President Trump's chief strategy officer of the Export-Import Bank. And we will speak with Scaramucci tomorrow morning live on Fox and Friends.
This should be a good one. All right, the mainstream media not hiding its obsession over the Russia story. A new study shows the network's evening newscast devoted more than 300 minutes, 353 minutes to be exact, to Russia over the past 5 weeks. Fighting terrorism got just 29 minutes of coverage. Obamacare repeal got 17 minutes. Economy and jobs got just 5 minutes. Less than a minute on tax reform. The study also shows 1/3 of the Russia coverage was based on anonymous sources, some of which were later proved to be inaccurate. All right, The Hill's Joe Concha sounding off on the media, saying outlets are neglecting actual news that's happening in order to further their narratives on Russian collusion.
353 minutes on the evening newscast since May 17th have been committed to Russia or Comey investigation. You know how many minutes have been actually dedicated to terrorism, a very important topic that a lot of people voted on? 29 minutes, 353 versus 29. How about the economy, the #1 issue that people vote on? How Donald Trump probably got into office, considering Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and he had an economic message, and Hillary Clinton didn't. 5 whole minutes. How about trade? 5 whole full minutes. So you say we're missing other stories? You're damn right we are.
We have another story for you. A controversial Ten Commandments monument is sparking some outrage on the Arkansas Capitol grounds. The privately funded monument was originally authorized back in 2015, but it was debated for nearly 2 years on whether it was appropriate. And now that lawmakers have installed it, the ACLU plans to file a lawsuit calling it an unconstitutional endorsement of religion by the state.
All right, Yale University suing the state of Connecticut over gender-neutral bathrooms. The institution plans to turn single-user restrooms into gender-neutral restrooms at its law school. According to the New Haven Register, the state building inspector's office denied that school's request for an exemption from the state building code. It does require that a certain number of bathrooms in every building do be assigned by gender.
And the time now is almost 20 minutes after the top of the hour, and it is official. Apparently, the blue state is so broke, it has more than $14 billion in unpaid bills, and that is not all.
That is something else. All right, Sarah Palin firing back the lawsuit that she has just filed against the New York Times.
Today, a giant cyber attack hit computer systems in Russia. In a related story, Hillary Clinton just had a great week at computer camp. She had the best time. She loves it. Wants to go next year.
Is that mustache real?
I don't know if it was
I'm trying to figure out the mustache more than the joke. All right, a Fox Business alert here. The United States now a victim of a major cyber attack.
Yeah, hackers causing huge disruptions to companies and governments across the globe. Tracy Carrasco from our sister network, Fox Business, here with what you need to know. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Now, yesterday, a similar hack to that WannaCry hack last month called Petya hit. It appeared to target the Ukraine, where government officials and businesses reported interference to the power grid. Government offices, banks, and stores. Pharmaceutical giant Merck became the first major U.S. company impacted by the ransomware, confirming the IT on Twitter. Also, WPP, the largest advertising company in the world, confirming their systems were also breached as well. Now, computers would receive a message, then essentially all of its data was held hostage, scrambling it until a payment was made. In this case, $300 in the digital currency Bitcoin was demanded.
And the spend crazy blue state of Illinois, not going to have any lottery winners anytime soon, huh?
No, you know, we told you about this the other day, that it might happen, but now it's official. The Illinois Lottery has suspended all Powerball and Mega Millions sales in the state because of the ongoing budget crisis and inability to pass a state budget. Ticket sales of Powerball with a current jackpot of $92 million will be suspended tonight. Ticket sales of Mega Millions with a current jackpot of $145 million will be suspended Friday night. The state's lottery also said that any winners of prizes exceeding $25,000 will experience a delay in payments for all games. Though it didn't say how long the delay would last, the Illinois Lottery says it has the money to pay, but winners get their checks from the state comptroller's office, which cannot legally cut checks without authorization in the budget.
So not celebrating that, but celebrating July 4th coming up, and we need to know about some fireworks that are recalled.
Yes, you know, if you're going to be setting off fireworks next week for the 4th of July, be careful, because 36,000 TNT red, white, and blue smoke fireworks now under recall. The fireworks can explode unexpectedly after being lit, posing burn and injury hazards. They were sold from May 2017 to June 2017 at Albertsons, Kroger, Major, Target, Walmart, and other retailers in Illinois, Ohio, Vermont, and Wisconsin. The fireworks were sold in a bag containing one red, one blue, and one white canister. Take a look at that, yeah.
I'll tell you what, you got to be careful with those. I used to have bottle rocket wars with my buddies as a kid. Stupid idea. Parents, don't let your kids do that, but it was fun. All right, thanks so much, Tracy. All right, good news if you are one of the 44 million Americans planning a 4th of July road trip. Gas prices, if you haven't noticed, hitting a 17-year low for the holiday weekend. Gas is cheap. According to the Gas Buddy app, drivers will pay an average of $2.21 per gallon. Typically, prices at the pump do go up around the 4th and Memorial Day, but not this year.
Usually the summertime is when they rise. Well, as if 1 billion users was not enough, 1 billion, Facebook says that they now have 2 billion. Founder Mark Zuckerberg announcing the milestone, where else, on his Facebook page, writing this: "We're making progress connecting the world, and now let's bring the world closer together." Now, Facebook is the biggest social media network anywhere, and listen to this, it has more users than the population of any single country. It's doubled in size since 2012.
Bigger than China at 1.3 billion, 2 billion. If my dad has Facebook, everybody has Facebook. That's the way I see it.
My dad does too. Yeah, good point.
27 minutes after the hour, the feud between the media and the Trump administration hitting fever pitch.
And what you just did is inflammatory to people all over the country.
If anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty.
And apparently that reporter thinks that his lashing out was a long time coming. We'll talk about that.
And
from the sea and sand, till the sun comes up again. Time for a champion, soothe the soul of the land. And the art from the sea and sand, till the sun comes up again.
It's going to be a lot of sunshine today on a beautiful Wednesday here in Manhattan. Good morning to you. You're watching Fox and Friends First. I'm Rob Schmidt.
Yeah, almost a little bit of reggae there to begin the morning. I'm Heather Childers. It is half past the top of the hour.
We begin with our top story. President Trump now asking Senate leaders for a better bill to repeal and replace Obamacare.
Yeah, Republicans delaying their vote on the controversial legislation until next month. Griff Jenkins joins us now live from Washington, D.C. with reaction. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Heather and Rob. And Rob, I can't confirm that the GOP senators are having bottle rocket wars with each other, but they certainly couldn't reach a deal on the Obamacare overhaul bill before the 4th of July recess. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell delaying the vote after it became abundantly clear that it stood no chance of passing. Growing resistance from 9 GOP senators now opposing the bill for a variety of reasons, not going far enough, the Medicaid cuts, and a CBO score that did not help. But after a meeting at the White House between all 52 Republican senators and the president, Mitch McConnell held out hope that they could get there, saying that progress was made at that meeting as the president continued to press the urgency of the situation.
We have really no choice but to solve this situation. Obamacare is a total disaster. It's melting down as we speak. Rates are going up.
And no help from Democrats who continue to uniformly oppose the bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called it rotten and vowed to defeat it.
We're going to fight the bill tooth and nail, and we have a darn good chance of defeating it a week from now, a month from now, a year from now.
Lawmakers leave town Friday for the recess to do some soul searching. Mitch McConnell will need to sway at least 7 of those 9 holdouts before he has a shot of passing anything.
I'm surprised they're not working through the weekend.
Yeah. Well, are you that surprised? I don't know.
They should be.
Griff, thanks so much. All right, a reporter lashes out at the White House deputy press secretary, upset over so-called fake news. Sarah Huckabee Sanders responding to a question about CNN editors resigning over an inaccurate story when she was interrupted.
What you just did is inflammatory to people all over the country who look at it and say, see, once again, the president's right and everybody else out here is fake media. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the news media.
All right, Brian Karem there on the left, a reporter for the Sentinel newspapers and for Playboy magazine, explained his outburst on MSNBC.
And to be just labeled as dishonest and fake media rankles me. And you know, maybe I lost my temper at that moment, but it was a long time coming.
Karem also saying that he has a healthy respect for the White House press team. All right, that brings us to Look Who's Talking. And this morning, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham has this advice for reporters who refuse to let go of their collusion conspiracy theories.
They ought to cover what's happening inside of the government when we have intelligence officials leaking to critical information or illegally leaking information that is either false or not advancing any whistleblower interest whatsoever, because they're not actually going to get whistleblower protections. These are people who are just deciding they don't like Trump and they want to take him out. That is not journalism. That's something very different. And I think if it were the shoe were on the other foot, they would be wailing about it.
All right, so we're going to keep talking about this one, the mainstream media and their recent coverage. What is the biggest story that you think the press has been ignoring to talk more about Russia? Log on to the Fox and Friends First Facebook page right after the show for a live debate. Use the hashtag #KeepTalking.
That's a good one. Well, our very own Brian Kilmeade getting an exclusive access inside the Daily House leadership meeting. The Fox and Friends host, the first journalist ever to be allowed to ask a question.
Very few viewers at home ever get a chance to see this. This is what you'd normally wear. This is how you normally sit. This is actually normal. You're not doing this for us, right?
Yeah.
Right?
No, this is what we do. This is the beginning of the week. This is our elected leadership team. We start the week this way, where we are planning the week. You'll see our agenda.
Is it possible to have a normal, everyday meeting, despite what you're doing legislatively, and knowing that Steve's battling like this?
This is where he normally sits. We're keeping his seat right here vacant until he returns.
This is one of the strongest men you'll ever meet. I know it's a very difficult obstacle, but I was just with him on Friday. Even the doctors will tell you how strong he's been through all of this.
Good to hear. Well, don't miss part 2 of Brian's interview with Speaker Paul Ryan. That's today on Fox and Friends at 6:45 Eastern Time. And in just a few hours, the House Armed Services Committee will meet to talk about the future of transgender soldiers in the U.S. military. Members will likely decide whether to actively recruit transgender candidates and the cost on taxpayers, what they would take on for transition procedures. The military was set to begin accepting recruits on Saturday, but Defense Secretary James Mattis could delay that decision.
The Supreme Court's ruling on the president's travel order is expected to open the legal floodgates. The court ruled the administration can restrict travel by people from 6 mostly Muslim countries if they don't have a bona fide tie to the U.S., to the United States. Immigration attorneys say refugees could now develop relationships with people in the United States to get around that, creating a legal loophole.
Well, some brand new disturbing details about an illegal immigrant accused of beating a 17-year-old girl to death in a road rage incident. Authorities in Virginia say that Darwin Torres also sexually assaulted a woman just a week before and is a member of the brutal gang MS-13. He is charged in the murder of Nabra Hassanin, who is also Muslim. Authorities do not believe that it was, though, a hate crime. Well, he says it wasn't him, but witnesses have identified an illegal immigrant as the driver who sent a 6-year-old to the hospital. Police say that Constantino Acosta, who has been deported 15 times in 15 years, was drunk when he slammed into a family coming home from Disneyland. Lennox Lake, who was sitting in his car seat, you see him right there, he suffered a major head injury, and he underwent multiple surgeries. And doctors are cautiously optimistic, though, that he will make a full recovery, and we certainly hope so.
All right, a college student heading to prison after registering dead people to vote. 21-year-old Andrew Spiels admits to submitting the names of 18 deceased and made-up individuals as well to a Virginia registrar's office. At the time, he was working for and getting paid by a political organization affiliated with the Democrats. Spiels will spend up to 120 days behind bars for that move.
Do you want to lose weight? Pour yourself another cup of coffee.
How many cups have you had this morning?
None.
Plus?
5, but yours is better.
You have a problem.
Yes, I do.
I guess it depends how much sugar you put into it, but new research claims the caffeine in coffee helps to suppress appetites. I feel like we do that already. It also gives the body more energy to be active and burn calories. Seems very common sense.
You shouldn't put that artificial sugar in there, though.
No.
For sure.
And I think every 3 days we have a coffee story. So there it is.
The time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. And some major victories for the Trump administration this week. We've told you about those. But now, if you ask the mainstream media, not according to them.
Big headline here, the 22 million more people be left uninsured.
I don't believe in targeting Muslims.
But that's
right?
what this does.
So why aren't they covering any of the positives? Our next guest says the American people aren't stupid and they see exactly what's going on.
Also, Rick Perry for press secretary?
Really be straight.
As straight as possible.
I had no idea what you just asked.
Carly Shimkus here with the podium performance everybody's talking about.
I think... Was Sarah Palin? Palin is firing back at the New York Times for trying her campaign ad or tying it to a mass shooting.
That's right. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115, here with the lawsuit that Ms. Palin just filed.
Yeah, today it's Sarah Palin versus the New York Times. The former Alaska governor is suing the Times over an article that linked her to the horrific shooting of then Congresswoman Gabby Giffords in 2011. So this editorial wrongfully claimed that an ad put out by Sarah Palin's Political Action Committee actually unintentionally inspired the shooter. That's not true. Now, the Times, they issued a correction a day after printing the editorial saying no such link exists. And shortly after the article was printed, Palin floated the possibility of suing. She tweeted, "Common sense suggestions by a journalist. Am talking to attorneys this morning and exploring options. By the way,